It's 1 p.m. and you know what that means. It's time for your news update here on KTN. This is Newsdesk. Thank you for joining me. I'm Nancy Kacungira, sitting in for Edith Kimani. Let's take a look at what's coming up in this bulletin. Defiant governors term an attempt by senators to establish county development boards as unconstitutional. Mau Mau veterans prepare for a fresh court battle with the British government over compensation. Aspirants in last day campaigns before Friday elections. Well, let's get straight to it. Governors have dismissed as unconstitutional the move by the Senate and the National Assembly to create county development boards that will be chaired by senators, with governors taking the role of secretaries to the boards. Now, the Governors' Council also defended the privilege of flying the national flag, saying it is a unifying symbol. The governors were speaking during a Governors' Council and Editors Guild meeting this morning.
And then bringing members of parliament who have a totally different role. The National Assembly's role is legislative work for the national government, not even for the counties. You bring them now at the county level, combine with them with the senators, with the MCAs, and then the executive arm, you put them together and then you create a body, an amorphous body to be doing executive work. So you are undermining the constitution. You are going against totally against the grain of separation of powers. It's very clear. You are creating a super structure on top of already existing structures that are already created by the Constitution.
In spite of being distinct and having our own different governments, we must maintain one united country. If you say counties cannot or governors should not have the flag, how about the national anthem? Do I create a new tune for Bomet? Because it is also part of the national emblem. What then happens? Are these gentlemen pushing this idea serious about the need to maintain a united country? Supposing somebody in Mandera starts designing a flag with certain stars similar to the ones in Puntland, for example, and they speak the same language, what happens 50 years down the line?
Well, it looks like we've certainly not seen the end of those wrangles. But let's go over now to the Rift Valley, where a man suspected of being a night runner has been arrested in Kabisoga village in Chepalungu after causing villagers sleepless nights. Now, the villagers do say that over the past few weeks, they've been experiencing disturbances at night by unknown people.
The suspected night runner was found naked in a cattle den.
Ni jamaa yetu tu ya nyumbani hapa tu, ni mtu wa mfanyakazi yetu hapa. Kumbe ni mtu anajifanya ni mjana ni mtu mzuri, lakini jioni anakuwa kitu kingine. So after all tukauliza maswali tatu mbili, tulipata kwa my grandmother huko chini, alikuwa na hiyo underwear peke yake, hakuwa na gumboots.
When residents found the suspect, they made a citizen's arrest. Apparently, the suspect has been causing villagers many sleepless nights.
Ni kitendo cha shetani niliona. Kwa sababu upate mtu ikiwa uchi. Asubuhi tukakucha kwa sababu tulikesha usiku yote kukaa kungoja ama tungoja watu wao. Lakini watu wao wakati alikucha tukauliza maneno matatu, akasema ni huyu kijana anafanya hiyo utendo kila siku hata nyumbani kwao.
The suspect was handed over to Chepalungu police officers and is still in custody. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
With a day to the ODM elections, campaigns for various positions in the party intensified last night, with Budalangi Member of Parliament Ababu Namwamba, who is vying for the position of Secretary General, leading his lineup of contestants to woo delegates from the coast. While addressing ODM delegates from all coast counties, Ababu insisted that the elections should be conducted by secret ballot. He said that the elections will be gauged by the same yardstick that the party used to criticize the Independent Electoral and Election Boundaries Commission in previous elections. The leaders did note that for ODM and party leader Raila Odinga to win in the 2017 elections, the exercise must be held in a free and fair manner, reiterating that secret ballot is the acceptable means through which the election should be conducted.
Wataita mpo. Tumesema Kasarani isiwe nini? Kisirani. Mwaka uliopita tulikuwa na uchungu kupoteza ushindi wetu, hata tukaenda mahakamani na tukaanzisha demonstration, tulikuwa tunasema democracy on trial. Sasa mimi ninaambia viongozi wa chama cha ODM, last year we said democracy on trial. On Friday, democracy is under test at Kasarani. Kila mtu ametizama ODM kujionea, je, lawama, kidole cha lawama tumenyoshea IEBC. Je, sisi pia tutanyoshewa kidole cha lawama ya kwamba sisi pia tumehujumu demokrasia?
Of course, we'll follow those elections very closely for you here on KTN. Now, elderly persons are trooping to the city in some significant numbers, seeking to join the case that is seeking compensation from the British government for Kenyans who suffered in the struggle for independence. All roads lead to a local law firm that has been tasked with registering Kenyans interested in making their claims. Yet, though many are encouraged by the victory of the Mau Mau fighters who won a settlement last year, lawyers do warn that there are no guarantees.
If the adage that the early bird catches the worm is true, then these elderly persons can count on good tidings coming their way. It is only 5 in the morning, yet they have already found their way to the heart of the city.
Nilikuja hapa saa 8 ya usiku. Nilikuwa na wazazi wale tulitoka nyumbani nao saa 5 za usiku jana jioni. Na tukakuja mpaka tukapata ngari ya kijana yetu. Akatulete mpaka hapa hiyo saa 8.
They brave the cold and the still of the early morning in the belief that they will reap the rewards soon. Each clutches the most important documents tightly. Their identification cards they believe are their passports to a fortune. Last year, after over 5,000 Kenyans who had sued Britain for rape and torture during the Mau Mau uprising secured a victory and monetary compensation, Tandem Law, a British legal firm, called upon Kenyans who had suffered in the struggle for independence to register to join a case seeking compensation from the British government. Only Kenyans who had been mistreated during the emergency period were eligible.
The main criteria is therefore is that the people who qualify, who are old enough during the emergency period to be able to say that indeed they suffered any of these forms of ill treatment, are people who were born in the year 1940 or before.
This would be a different case from the first, and so elderly persons began to arrive to begin the long wait for their turn.
It takes 2 hours. We have a document that is actually 45 pages, and that document has been set out for purposes of ensuring that people qualify if they're credible.
The new claimants say they were overlooked in the previous restitution deal. The registration, which began in November, is set to end in April, at which point the legal battle will begin. Wilkistanyabwa, KTN.
A 45-page document. We can only hope their efforts will be rewarded. Now, the Boda Association of Kenya has come out to protest the proposed operational hours that were set out by police to curb increased crime in Kenya. The operators say there was no consultation and when that was made with them when defining operational hours. The association also says the matter will go to court should the police proceed to stamp the said hours. Police yesterday issued orders barring Boda operations outside 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. According to the riders, their peak hours start after 6 p.m. There are over 600,000 registered Bodas operating in Kenya that contribute over 84 million shillings to the economy of the country.
tunakataa hili jambo na hatujakubali na hatutakubaliana na serikali vile wanavyosema ya kwamba tuweze tukafanya kazi usiku mchana peke yake 6 to 6. Kwa hivyo tungependa tupewe nafasi na pia watuite kama wanataka kushauriana na sisi, watuite kwa sababu tuko na jinsi ambavyo tunafanya kazi nao. Huwa tunashirikiana na askari na pia tuko na groups ambazo tumepanga. Kwa hivyo katika Kenya mzima tumekuwa tukienda kila mahali na tunajaribu kuangalia na tunajiandikisha majina ili kwamba kama kuna sekta yoyote, kama kuna mtu yoyote ambaye ni mmoja kati ya wengine ambaye akona ukora kati yetu, tunajaribu kumtoa katika hii kikundi na kweli tunaweza kumpatiana kwa government. Kwa hivyo
And now some good news for patients seeking health services at the Thika Level 5 hospital. The county government of Kiambu has set aside 240 million shillings for the expansion of the Thika Level 5 hospital. This will include the construction of a 155 million shilling reproductive health unit and an intensive care unit that will cost 30 million shillings. An additional 55 million shillings will be spent in equipping the new mortuary built in partnership with Mount Kenya University. Now, according to hospital management, the hospital receives hundreds of patients on a daily basis and also acts as a referral facility for most of the neighboring district and sub-district hospitals.
Patients who are complicating outside the hospital and also to other referral centers like Kenyatta National Hospital. This actually ambulance is costing 5.1 million and it's an advanced life support ambulance.
Authorities in central Kenya are concerned that the education standards in central Kenya have declined compared to past performances. Young people in the region need mentors who they can emulate and make something of themselves. KTN's Carol Derry has the rest of that story.
A batch of students searched for their Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education last year and even then had to rely on a neighboring school's charity. For Ithenguri Secondary School in Teto constituency has no laboratory of its own. The high school was started by the alumni of the Ithenguri Primary School to fill a glaring gap that arose after pupils completed their primary school education and had nowhere to go.
Because we had modest means, we had a limited number of resources and we were only able to do the basic infrastructure for the school.
We need toilet facilities for boys. We also need classrooms. We don't have a staff room.
Being a community school that was started by individuals from Ithenguri area, the stakeholders expressed their concern that the performance of secondary schools in the Mount Kenya region pales in comparison to that of previous years.
The beginning of a program within the entire Mount Kenya region known as Adopt a School, whereby professionals are going to be given responsibilities to adopt a school and follow their performance.
The infrastructure of the school is in dire need of a facelift. This is the school's kitchen. It is dilapidated and in need of renovation. Up until recently, the school had to rely on teachers employed by the Board of Governors. And while the students now have to make do with the inadequate facilities and rely on well-wishers from the area to give them a boost in terms of resources, they hope that the stakeholders in the education sector will pay more attention to them. Carol Nderi for KTN at Ithenguri in Tetu.
Thank you, Carol. Now, elsewhere, the Kenya Union of Domestic Hotels, Educational Institutions and Hospital Workers, or KUDEIHA as they're known, are demanding provision of financial statements on the allocation and payment of salaries and house allowances by the management of universities in the country. They are threatening to down their tools come the 17th of next month if their demands are not met. The union also maintains that they're not part of Kenya National Union of Teachers, but they are KOTU members.
The workers in public universities and giving the management of all public universities 14 days from now to provide us with the detailed accounting documents on how the first 3.9 million shillings was distributed across all employees in public universities, including us, and more specifically, group 1 to 4, we are firmly standing and saying, we work like any other worker. We are employees like any other employee in Kenya, and in more public universities, we are standing up, demanding our rights.
Hopefully that situation will be resolved before the 17th of March. This is KTN Newsdesk. Stay with us. Many more stories after this break. Welcome back to KTN Newsdesk. Let's take a look at the business end of things now. A 17% increase in profitability to 20.1 billion shillings has seen the KCB Group hit the 20 billion shilling mark. Now, this makes it the first bank to do so, as well as the country's most profitable bank. Consolidation of operations and innovation are what saw the bank post increased returns from its local and regional businesses during its 2013 financial year. Net loans and advances grew by 8% to 227.8 billion shillings, which saw net interest income grow to 33 billion shillings. Now, with increased scrutiny on commercial banks over the relation between high profitability and interest rates, KCB says it intends to grow its non-funded income through cross-selling and leveraging on channels such as agency banking, internet banking, and credit card transactions. During the period, fees and commissions increased by 9.2% to 10.5 billion shillings. The bank's operations in Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and South Sudan broke even, with profits up 60% to 2.4 billion shillings, contributing 11% to the bank's overall performance. The bank's board has proposed a final dividend payout of 2 shillings per share that is bound to influence the counter's trading at the bourse.
Development in this region. So, and I give you the reason why I say that. If you look at the corporate banking side, our own corporate bank is bigger than most banks. So it is growing. We today have some deals we've done with customers in the oil and gas sector today. Those are our clients. And because we're large enough, we have a stronger balance sheet, we can be able to do drilling companies going into Turkana to drilling. We're able to enable them by oil rigs. Rigs that actually do the drilling itself. And that's one area of strength. If you look at the mortgages, which is where we are the largest mortgage company today, we have got big mortgage projects with our customers, part of Nairobi, in Mombasa, in Nakuru. If you look at the retail side of our bank, which is still the largest retail bank, we're able to see not so much what last year on the consumer lending, but a lot of the small and medium enterprises, an area we want to grow.
Well, thank you very much for joining me on this edition of News Desk. That's all we have for you. Our next news update will be at 4 p.m. in Swahili, so do join us for that. Good afternoon.